Hello, everyone. I'm Nate Gonzales. I was AM22's Executive Vice President for Internal Affairs. Currently, I'm a med student at ASMPH. Back when I was a member of AMP, I was sort of everyone's dad since I was the Internal Affairs VP. So,
Hello everyone, I'm Janessa Geronimo. I used to be an AMP 20 and I used to be the soloist head and a project head. And now I'm currently the drummer of Over October. And back when I was a member, I would usually just stand by the bench.
Hello everyone, I'm Mare Collantes-Lina and I was part of the 2009 to 2013 batch of AMP. I'm currently a photographer and an entrepreneur. Back when I was a member, I was known to have one of the loudest laughters in the bench.
Hello everyone, I'm Sage Ilagan and I was AMP21's frontman of Ashley's Kryptonite. Currently, I am a music producer. Back when I was a member, I was everyone's resident sad boy.
Okay, hello everyone, I'm Erika and I was AMP soloist coordinator back in 2014. So currently, I'm an entry-level psychologist in training at the Bulatao Center. So back when I was a member, I used to coordinate for solo artists and match them with our musicians roster to give them gigs. So back to you.
Hi, I'm Andrew De Pano and I was the bass head for 2013 to 2014. Currently, I am Erika's husband and a percussionist and vocalist of Ben and Ben. And back when I was a member, I was the head of the bass people and I didn't do much because there weren't a lot of bassists and I'm sure there still are not enough bassists. So if you're watching this, grab a bass and learn to play so that the bass head can head you.
What was AMP to you?
AMP was pretty much my home base for my whole college life, which was not very long, but it was home nonetheless. It was where I would go to eat, to hang out, and to do my assignments after class.
That's not true. He's there to play cards at the AMP bench, ano?
Yeah, we play cards, jam, share music with each other.
Sige, my turn. AMP was, I think, just the same as Andrew, parang it was my home base. It was where I felt like I belong because parang I got in already when I was in third year. It was like the best 2 years of my life, to be honest. So it was really like a home base where I really found people that I have a lot of similarities with. So yeah, it was really a fun time.
AMP is a community. I think back when I was in AMP, I felt like there were people who also had the same interests as me. And I felt like I had a place where I could just be myself and experience and explore music with people who love music as much as I do.
So AMP to me was the family I had in school. I was homeschooled for most of my life. College was the first experience I had in regular school aside from like nursery, which, does it really matter? Parang di naman. AMP was the first organization that I joined. I was closer to them than I was to my block. So it was really everything to me at that time. That was where I met the friends that I'm still friends with now. That was where I also met the people I am in business with now. So it's a very important part of college. Parang college definitely wouldn't be the same without that.
I guess, well, AMP is an org. It's probably like the only org I was active in. When you're a fresh, you tend to like sign up for like 6 or 8 orgs kasi sobrang excited mo. So that's me, right? That's a lot of us. But AMP was the only one that I was active in. Parang the rest ata either hindi ako sumulpot or I went like for the first time and never appeared again. And like I guess it was my home in college. Most of my friends are there. Yun yung tambayan ko, the amp bench, every single day. It was either Starbucks or CBTL or the amp bench. I had no other places to like to tambay in.
I think AMP for me is family. It's like a family away from my home. Since I think it's the only org that I was really active in all throughout college, from first year to fourth year. And I see AMP bench as sort of like a solace for me as a college student. And the people in AMP are also my family. I consider them my family. We've been through a lot together, a lot of different experiences that we shared, a lot of events that we went to, a lot of memories that we made together. So yeah, AMP's a family too.
Well, for me, in my experience, parang yung get-up was very simple. Since most of the time it's like very hot, people would just like wear shorts and whatever shirt they had.
I guess stereotypically it would be a guy because it was a male-dominated organization. You would see like dudes, usually in black, dudes skateboarding, then sa catwalk. But I guess on the flip side, for some, I guess, representation on the women's side, I guess the manic pixie dream girl type of people. I guess when I was still in AMP. But again, that's a stereotype.
Going into AMP around first year, which is 2016, 2015, there's that stereotype that we're rockers yung mga members, like long hair, like the wristbands with the spikes and everything. It was during our sort of like era that we went away from the rocker stereotype of AMP. A lot of different kinds of people that I met all throughout my journey there. For Tambayan, of course, the AMP bench.
AMP bench for sure.
Almost every break that I had, or after my last class, I would always go there. I guess favorite gig place, maybe Route 196.
Route and Moe's.
Moe's or Route 196.
That's where we usually hold their gigs.
It was so close to Ateneo, right? It's like a car ride away.
Yung favorite AMP gigs ko would be parang when we would go outside of the school. It's really showing how much I do appreciate my members, and at the same time, how much I really just enjoy sharing music with other people.
When I was a freshman, yung paboritong genre noon was probably prog rock, gent.
I could say like there are a lot of musical styles that were represented by producers making hip-hop, singer-songwriters, and bands that were heavily inspired by mga indie rock artists.
For most of my stay there, it was a mix of, I would say, alt rock and maybe girl pop.
During the tail end of my days in AMP, it was funk and neo soul na.
Yeah, it's very diverse from the stereotypical like rock scene or punk rock or heavy metal stereotype that AMP had.
One of the advantages of joining that org back then was that there was diversity in terms of the acts.
I guess I would say recital, since this really like the culminating event for our batch. I'm actually not an artist, but I got to perform in recital for the first time, so that was a special memory for me. And for a lot of my other batchmates who also performed at recital.
I think we had a rooftop gig before. If I'm not mistaken, launch yata siya ng Amplitudes. Seeing Katipunan from that view, kita mo lahat ng mga kotse, kita mo lahat ng mga buildings.
I don't know if it was iconic for anyone else. I hope it was, but like it's kind of iconic for me. Syempre may bias ako sa band ako. But our EP launch was one for the books, definitely. It's still one of my favorite gigs. And what made that special was we got help from a lot of people in AMP. We owe a lot to the org for, I guess, our success now, where we are now. Yun, that's why it meant a lot. And it was a special night. It was such a great place to hang out. Ang sarap lagi ng usapan, whether it's music or otherwise.
Almost every day, it was always full, the amp bench. So it was really nice to interact with a lot of different people. The culture overall was very welcoming, friendly. We were very open to new people as well.
The one thing that stands out with AMP compared to other orgs is how much we actually bond. I think every org will say that, pero iba talagang AMP eh. I don't know why. I think it does have something to do with music kasi it goes beyond being an organization, right? I think a lot of work outside the org is done and it's really out of our own volition. Well, there's two that come to mind. One is Rites of Passage.
The Rites of Passage was the first major event for AMP every school year. And it's always like the cornerstone or just the foundation, I think, for the rest of the school year.
Being able to share what I can offer. And it was really my beginning, the beginning of my journey as an AMP member.
And definitely recital. I guess a lot of emotions come out in recital because it is the last, I guess, like the last performance or the seniors, diba?
But I always felt like after the recital, for those who participated in the recital, it was a very big part. It was a very big thing for them, especially those graduating.
So I was a project head for those things. And then I was also the soloist head. But admittedly, I think kasi AMP is very project-based. So there's a lot that you can contribute as a project head. And I think, Rites has got to be like my favorite one. I mean, getting to handle all the soloists is fun and all.
I think yung amplitude skill. I think that was really memorable for us. No? It's memorable for me more than just that certain event. It's because of how everything came together for that event. Us being able to produce the song, and then us submitting the song to AMP, and then further production during the recording stage, and then finally being able to share our song to the whole AMP community and to even other friends from AMP. So,
of course, in the first year, we were the babies of AMP. So there are a lot of parental figures for us, or big sister types, big sibling types. Then going into third year and fourth year, me and my batchmates took on like the big brother type, big sister type, or the parental types.
Yung parang kuya figure kasi ni Buizon was Ateneo 𝗕𝗓𝗄. For some reason, parang Ateneo 𝗕𝗓𝗄 took it upon himself to mentor Buizon, like at that time. So parang, with our EP launch and dun siya. Parang sobrang kuya figures, magkamukha pa sila. Mukha talaga sila magkapatid. Diba? That kind of mentorship.
Si Lua, Joshua Lua, and si Julia. I think they're still together now. So I would say them.
Erika and Andrew. So I knew them before they were a thing, and then suddenly they were a thing. And now they're married. So that's pretty big.
Yeah, I think it was really that stereotype of the rocker, like a rocker. So I think there are a lot of alumni who also visited us at the bench or different events that we went to, and I think they sort of fit that stereotype na medyo rocker.
I guess back then some of the alumni were very, very clingy to the org, to the point that they would schedule individual consultations for him even after they would graduate. I think that's how strong the connection for rin is. We graduated, we made it a point not to meddle with any of the drama.
The batches before me were more focused on performance. I felt like when I got in AMP, that was the end all of being an artist, to perform and to get gigs and to be recognized. And little did I know that it was more than that. It was just an aspect of being an artist.
But I would say like going in my second year, third year, and fourth year, we really tried to encapsulate other aspects of music as well, besides the performances. So we really tried to focus on promotions, design, ways to document as well, and to make more publications around music, to have more discourse between members about music.
A lot of focus was put on the musicians, but AMP's not just the musicians, right? We're bigger than the sound. So we wanna, when we leave it, we wanna build like a thesis structure where people can still like have a more defined discipline. There's a lot of debate whether it's like this is the right way to go. Should we make it simpler? But at the end of the day, I think the whole point of that is like we don't want to be musician centric, right? There's a lot of things that happen with musical events, and it's not just the musicians. When I was before I got into AMP, there's that image of pag musikero, lasinggero.
Well, I think my impression of AMP before would be like a lot of privileged kids joining together, making music. It's more of like, okay, now you are aware that you do have access to these things, and unlike other people who don't, but it's still something that you have to develop yourself.
For anyone else outside of AMP, it's quite intimidating, especially if you walk past them in like their tambayan and the AMP bench. There's some like people shredding on their guitars, or like suddenly magbibelt na lang sila because they're practicing for like whatever song. But yeah, it's a very welcoming org, but it does look intimidating from the outset.
We collected a few assumptions about AMP in the early 2010s from members from 2017 to the current AMP generation, and we'd like to ask you for you to either debunk or affirm them and share your general thoughts on these. Okay, number one, there was a rocker stereotype.
Yes. There was a transition from guys who love to shred, and yung mga mahilig sa Dream Theater, yun yung time na yun, diba? Like rock and stuff. And then suddenly it transitioned. Ang daming ganon siya for a certain time. So yes, rock stars. But I think with our batch, it kind of transitioned into solo artists as well. So more acoustic na yung vibes.
The dyed hair and stuff, I think that goes for all generations. You don't need to be a musician or AMP member to have that. Yeah, of course, we did have people, a culmination of so many kinds of people. I think what we often said before was AMP seemed to be a place where all the misfits go, because we're all the ones who didn't fit into their block, or like brought their entire block into AMP, or you've been looking for friends and you couldn't really click with anybody, and then you find somebody quirky like you in AMP.
Other than the rock stereotype that some of the members thought of your batch before, could you describe the other AMP stereotypes in your batch?
A lot of people thought AMP was cliquish because we did sit in the middle of sec walk with that bench and everything. But in truth, I mean, we really did speak about that being cliquish wasn't the AMP brand, because as I said, it was a place where all of us who couldn't really find a place to go found a home. The thing with the name, it's Ateneo Musicians Pool, so automatically it kind of alienates people who don't play music. It's not just the musicians, it's not just about the people who play, it's about people who love music, and then how can you contribute.
Okay, for the second assumption, it was rich, privileged kids making music.
Grabe naman, di ako rich kid.
Galing lang sa buy and sell. Charot!
Marunong lang buy and sell.
I think it was a good mix. That's why balanced siya. Because I wouldn't consider myself as a rich kid.
Yeah, it was definitely not super rich kid era back then.
From all walks of life talaga eh. Of course, you have people from all social classes. It's Ateneo din. It wasn't just specific to rich kids, and not everybody, because that comes with another connotation that they're mayabang and they're that privileged idea. Hindi ganon. I never felt like it was a bunch of cool kids or rich kids. It was always something na anyone you can bring would probably find somebody that they could talk to.
There's another stereotype of just drinking a lot.
Oo yun.
Ito yun, kasi alam mo, guys, alam mo ba?
Lalaglag na ako ng asawa ko.
Itong si Erika, she was like the kindest, sweetest soul. biglang nag-join lang siya ng amp. Tapos niyayayanan niya ako, Monday lunchtime,
Kasama
tara,
si Mariel.
Red Horse tayo!
Di pa tayo nun.
Red Horse!
There were certain members, at least for my batch and the upper batch, merong designated drivers ng mga laseng na laging may Innova. Innova!
Ako yung amp driver. So whenever there were events.
Nag-uwi ng lasing, ganun.
Yeah. So to answer, true, false. Yeah.
Another stereotype, super chill vibes and carefree, but somehow very productive.
Oh yeah. Grabe yun. Yung the 2 years I was in AMP was the most chill time of my life. Yet, dun ako pinaka nag-grow as a musician. I think both of us did na. In AMP, you're surrounded by a lot of good friends. You're surrounded by a good community of like-minded, like-hearted musicians who aren't stingy with their knowledge. And when you're in that kind of environment, learning isn't so tedious, or learning becomes just another part of everyday life na hindi mo talaga siya pinag-iisipan, but then biglang you look back years later and be like, whoa, I learned so much pala from my friends in AMP.
God knows the EB is very intense. The stereotype is not real, most especially for the EB.
Was it true that you guys had gigs almost every night?
So, official AMP gigs didn't happen every night. But then there were gigs kasi every night almost. As in Root. Hindi siya AMP gig. It just so happened that most of the AMP bands would be playing somewhere sometime within the week. So yeah, we were out most of the week. And then we just school bus home together. So, hindi mo siguro every day. Pero siguro sabihin mo thrice or 4 times out of a 5-day week. So madami din.
Yeah, man. Grabe yun. Di na ako pumapasok halos. De joke lang. Don't follow. Go to school. People kind of knew me as that guy who could play most instruments. So if they needed a person to play, I would say yes. So almost every day talaga may gig.
There was this assumption of that you guys were just wilder.
In another sense, siguro parang hindi
kami pumaparty for the sake of partying. We were partying for the music.
Yeah,
yun is for the music.
Yes. I mean, YOLO no college, yes. But dang, being part of the EB at least, or working like with the organization kind of really gave them a good work ethic. So, yun lang yung sasabi ko.
Another assumption that came up, well, specifically from the current generation, was that the guys were mostly doing the indie rock kind of thing, with gigs every night and all that, and then the girls were doing indie pop soft girl vibes. Would you say that that's an accurate assumption, or not really?
Most of the bands that were around at that time, She's Only 16, there were the Strangers, Run Manila Run. So yeah, we're indie rock, alternative rock, and then you have people like Kriz and Vika and Grease, and then the rest was that's sila Miles. It was also dependent kasi on your preference, and at that time, mas maraming girls to do the mas acoustic feel, or if ever they would get, people borrowed instrumentalists from each other. So for example, some of the solo girls would get the guitarists from different bands or the drummers from different bands to form a different sound. So that happens din naman.
Di naman, it was pretty varied naman.
It depends also with who you're with. It's a mix
guys
of...
were it was more guys were into actually mas punk pa. We were still at the tail end of the punk era.
Yeah, with Paramore.
Tapos yung girls were doing the indie vibe din.
Yeah. Ayan, pakita mo, B.
Basta, hindi naliligo, tapos
So, ikaw lang yun?
Ganito palagi yung buhok, tapos naka-black palagi. Tapos nagdadala ng guitar sa school kahit di naman kailangan magdala ng guitar sa class mismo. Just so that you can have your guitar, then put it down beside you in your chair and then show people, I'm a musician. Tapos, yun, mostly ganun.
Definitely my favorite combined would be the amp bench. So that is a literal bench, 2 benches with a table that was in between the Sec B and Sec C foyers. We loved it because that was where we went. We never went to the org room. The org room was nothing to us really because it was in the MVP and then pupunta ka pa doon. So we were always in the amp bench kapag in between classes.
There's Route 196, which was like the quintessential QC gig place. Like if you were a new musician, you were getting into college, you were starting out with a band. Goal yun. It was like a goal to perform at Route 1.
Our batches was mostly indie rock or indie folk and a little bit of alternative rock.
Math rock.
Math rock.
Math, prog rock. There's a group that's still semi-alive today, one of my favorite bands from my generation of AMP, yung Money Circuit. Look them up, kids. Tapos,
and one of them is also part of jazz band naman, Extrapolation.
Si Dondi. Dondi Alampay. What else was common? I think we were getting into the
Army, UDD.
The indie pop, more western sound ng like Phoenix.
Yeah.
Kind of getting into
Mumford
folk.
Yeah.
Mumford. The pre-Ben and Ben era of folk.
Yes.
Okay. So when I entered AMP, I was only friends with like 2 people in school. As in the entire world of Ateneo. Kasi nga, homeschooled ako. Wala akong kilala. So the only 2 people I knew were Pia Lina and David Lina because they were my childhood friends. And Pia was the president. And when I joined, I remember being helped by Miko. Kasi we have a lot of like, when I started, kulang yung DP. And then when I started, like, I don't even remember who the head was, but we were lacking in like sign-ups. And I specifically remember being taught sa bench by different DP members how to edit na hindi dapat Photoshop, dapat Lightroom na lang para batch edit. And I mean, like, that's something that I carried on.
So we made, what, 7 or 8 EPs?
Yeah, and then we launched it.
Most of them were recorded in my small-ass room and like, even yung EP niya, we recorded the vocals in my room, we recorded the drums somewhere else. And yung pinaka-mahirap dun, nung time na yun, may crush ako sa kanya ng medyo solid. So imagine being in one room with your super crush, just recording her vocals. Tapos you're just there like, tough times yun. So, pero it worked out. Sobrang ganda ng EP ni Erika. Yung recital siguro.
Yeah.
The yearly recital was a thing.
Rites of Passage. Auditions. Yeah, the auditions.
Auditions is always that time where everyone eggs their musician friends. Uy, sali ka AMP. Sali ka raw ng AMP.
Yeah.
AMP was known for the recitals, I believe. It was really the highlight of our year, every year. I don't know if you know, pero kasi merong part na kaming org heads, usually yung president, tsaka yung EVP, makipupot nila kami sa room kasi konti pa lang yung places before. May arete na ngayon, di ba? Before wala. So we only had like the small theater and then Irwin, which is more expensive. So meron kaming day na yung PAC tsaka MCA, kung may event kayo, literally mag-aagawan kayo ng date tapos magsasabihan kayo kung why you need it this year. As in tipong nakuha mo last year, so ako ngayon.
Yung auditions din talaga siguro. Parang yun din talaga yung thing na parang it's such a big thing for people. And I'm not sure if ganun pa rin yung culture, but they usually get alumni also to judge. Siguro maganon pa rin, so 1 to 2 years older after nang graduate ka na. From
grabe yung auditions.
From duties. Yeah, I think yun yung mga events.
Every time sa auditions, as a judge, I always have 2 thoughts. Grabe yung talent dito sa Ateneo. Tsaka, grabe yung confidence dito sa Ateneo.
Totoo, no? Oo.
I think every older batch
will always
thinks
say
that what the younger batch is doing sucks.
Yeah.
But what the younger batch the younger batch will always think that what they're doing is better than what the older batches are doing.
Yeah.
Di
Walang
mawawala.
sensor. Walang sensor. Ganun siya.
What I think we objectively did better than the older batches was to be more inclusive of different styles, different attitudes, different personalities. Parang my generation of AMP was one of the starting points of a time where you didn't have to be so unrealistically cool to fit in, or you didn't have to be so stereotypically rock star to, perform.
Did you ever imagine AMP to look like this years after you've graduated? Yung tipong, as an alumna, how do you feel when you look at the current generation of AMP?
It is quite nice to be meeting new members of AMP and to find the warmth is still there. So there's always a sense of camaraderie talaga when you meet somebody, but you don't necessarily know anymore what kind of culture they went to, because I believe that every batch change. Not because it's a good or a bad thing, but every generation is different. Every group of people is different. It's always easy though to talk to an AMP friend or an AMP member, and I hope that continues.
Yeah, I really appreciate this is what AMP has become and how you have the foresight, the responsibility to do something like this.
For me, I'm proud that parang it has grown to this. Like, you have writers, you have people who do marketing, you have people who do music and video prod. Parang for the legacy to be alive and for it to flourish in a very unique way based on your batch. I think that's something naman that to see it this way, that parang for each batch that people take responsibility and really take it on. Like with AMP, it's really our love for music that keeps it alive. So parang it's that commonality that allows it to flourish even until now. Umabot tayo ng 25 years. So parang yun yung pinaka, I think.
25 years na?
Oo, besh. Oo, yun yung yun yung I think.
And today, I think big kudos to you guys since you have to go through this pandemic and to handle a big org such as AMP and to readjust. Hopefully, you guys can experience like a live recital or a live AMP tunes where you guys can really work together face to face.
For me, AMP before and AMP today would still remain as a community. Being able to pursue this quest of developing these artists is really what AMP is all about.
So I think a lot of kids nowadays, parang they're going away, I guess, from the traditional band setup to producing their own beats, their own music, sila lahat. And I think that's pretty cool. I guess my hope for the org, kasi nga, like I mentioned, AMP used to be a very male-dominated org. I think it's improved now, seeing a lot of women and a lot of queer people in the org, very visible. It's great to see, honestly.
For me, before, AMP was really a place where I mean, as a part of the executive board, I really wanted it to be a place that people could be themselves. So even if you're a musician or hindi, if you can't hold the tune but you love it, if you love music, I wanted it to, I mean, not just me, the entire executive board really wanted AMP to be a place of like, to be home, where you won't be judged. You can bring in your random, the stuff that you like and nobody will laugh at you. Yeah, I always encourage people to join AMP because I want them to experience having friends like that, friends that I have for a lifetime. I do hope that everybody will still find lifetime friends here because what you experience in AMP will definitely stay with you for the rest of your life.
Hopefully that love for music will transition into having more musicians in the scene, in the industry, and that parang OPM will continue to flourish talaga.
Honestly, one of the things that pushes me in Ben and Ben to really raise the standard of Filipino music is for you guys. It's for the newer acts to have a much easier time than we did. It inspires me to do good and to break the ceiling of what it means to be a Filipino musician.
One of the biggest lessons for me is never being late for a gig. Learning to respect your fellow artists and learning to be disciplined enough in this type of industry, I think.
Definitely, it's being in a band, and I didn't know the kind of commitment that is needed to be in a band. I kind of related to being in a relationship, like legitimately. I'm in a relationship with you guys right now. So and that I had to learn along the way, both in terms of like the dynamic we have.
I think most important skill that I learned is social skills. I could really carry over that sort of social skills going into the rest of my life, I guess, the rest of my career.
Being open to opening yourself up to other people, because opening yourself up is one thing, but being open to that possibility in the first place is an opportunity that you have to seek out for yourself at the start. And that opportunity is joining an organization like AMP.
That opportunity to learn about yourself and to figure out how music plays a part in your life is also something to reflect on. So parang it was really that opportunity. As much as you get to know other people, you also get to know about yourself through what you play and by what you listen to and the people you interact with. So parang it's really a perfect time to get to know yourselves.
I think aside from the photography definitely developed. In terms of leadership skills, I never thought that I would hold a position in AMP, to be honest. But from DP head to president to VP, it was something I didn't expect, and yet I learned that even if your skill is lacking, you can always learn it as long as your heart is in the right place. We were together for a common goal, eh? So it helped me also understand a lot of people that you don't really get to pick the people you work with. Not always. It will force you to mature talaga.
Well, I kind of figured because like I was a drummer, so like it only makes sense for me to join the music org, right? But what made me stay was honestly the people.
I love music ever since I think I was born, since my dad is a musician. So yeah, I think my family as well is very musical in a sense. It was also no brainer for me to stay in the org and to take up roles that I could use to help the members to help the org as well.
I think for us, it was more of, is there anything else that we wanted to accomplish as a band? And were we able to accomplish that during our final years as a band? So I think AMP being part of those final years made it a lot more memorable for us.
I wanted to join AMP actually because my friend Pia was in it, and she was saying that it's such a fun org to be in, and I really wanted to belong somewhere. I feel like I jumped into it before I could even learn about it. I was already in the AMP bench before I quit because my friends were there. My only two friends were there. So yeah, and then it just so happened I was so drawn, and I found friends there also aside from the original two.
I joined AMP, like I tried out AMP. Then wala pang nangyari. They already booked me for a gig a few days later. And I was like, nice. I'm playing a gig pero wala pang rehearsals. Diyan tayo, man. Like,
because my parents are very religious, so parang I wasn't allowed or not encouraged to join other orgs that were not Catholic or Christian. But I actually auditioned on my own. Na parang wala kayo, gusto ko na mag-audition. Parang third year ka na YOLO na. And third year parang not knowing na parang, kaya ko palang mag-songwriting, kaya ko palang kumanta or mag-play ng guitar.
Well, to the founders, thank you, first and foremost, for sticking a music org in a university that does not have a music major. A lot of people, a lot of great talent came from AMP, and it all started with just this love for music.
I would say thank you, since I think without them, you wouldn't be here. I think from the first idea that we had of protecting musicians within the Ateneo community, the founders had that idea, and I think that sort of spirit that they had, that sort of idea that they had, carried over as well throughout the years. So for you guys, for the current generation of AMP, you just keep persevering through this pandemic, and I hope that you guys could continue creating good things within the local music scene, creating a lot of really amazing bands, amazing singers, amazing musicians, and a lot of amazing content as well, like videos, photos, publications.
Learn that AMP is just more than a place for kids to hang out, but really to make these connections and to understand that it's a music community that we're building. It's more than just an individual thing.
And for the next generation, I guess, so that's number one. It's bigger than this out. This is bigger than music. Yes, your common ground is music, but there's so much more that you can do with this common love, right? I guess have fun with it. I think with orgs, because in general, like, drama never ends. You're not gonna remember having to like pass these different kinds of forms to hold your event or whatever, right? But you're gonna remember all the fun times. So definitely remember, keep those to heart.
I hope that even in these times, like everybody's doing everything differently online, I hope that AMP will continue to be people's home. I hope that you still find friends beyond the screen, and that the love for music will really bring people together. I really do hope that it changes your life the way it changed mine.
parang I know it's a difficult time because parang I bet everyone would want to have the experience in school, and I know parang that's something to grieve about, but I'm still happy in a way that you find things to celebrate in parang during this time, the pandemic, and parang the music still keeps you on.
The year I joined AMP,
2012.
sinabihan ako ng dad ko, anak, alam mo ba, by the time I was your age, I had already met your mother. Sabi ko, ala, seryoso? Now look at, so solid yun. You never know, join AMP.
You know pala.
So yun, it's really important that you go into this with expectations, like clear expectations with yourself, what you want music to be for you in your life. I just want to say to this new generation of AMP, good luck and enjoy it, because when you're there, when you're in college, a week feels like such a long time. And in just a blink of an eye, wala ka na dun. Like, legit, just enjoy every day of it. Enjoy the stress. Enjoy the times you're thinking, ano ba ginagawa to? Enjoy the times na nahassle ka for something. But so long as it's something you love and you love AMP, if you love AMP, it's a hassle naman worth going through. Thanks for having the foresight to make a music org in an institution that does not seem to value music. I hope you see the impact you've had on the industry, the impact you've had on the Ateneo community, making it just a little bit funner than if it was an Ateneo without AMP.